my friends, and welcome to this playthrough for Pro and Expert Division in the Desert Open Tournament. The video is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic, and let's go. We're going to start off with hole number 1. We're going to choose a Kingmaker here. The reason we're choosing Kingmaker is that we want to be able to reach over to the fairway platform on the top there. If we're not able to reach over there, we do need to play ourselves on that bigger fairway just below and try to go as far to the right as possible. Maybe going for like a trick shot, like a slice shot in from that position is going to be good to put yourself on the right. But we're going to go straight forward, going with max topspin here on our club, and to kind of counter for the headwind, and that we don't need to overpower our shot that much, actually, to be honest. So we get it over there, it works perfectly, and then from that position we're definitely going to have a good opportunity to, at least, like, not good, we're going to have a secure eagle, but a decent opportunity to make an albatross. So our opponent here is having the extra level 7, and do make a judgment call here that it's going to be very, very tough to reach over with an extra level 7. I would consider that one to be very, very tricky. I would see it as something that you should actually try. Maybe pull a Kingmaker in that position if you do have one to spare. But going here into the rough here, it's going to be very, very tough to get the eagle from this position, because it's going to, first and foremost, not being able to reach for the green, and then second, after that, is going to still be a wood club towards the pin from a very tricky position. We're going max side spin here. We're going to go with and we're going 1.5 bar of backspin here, and the reason we're going to want to be max side spin here is that we aren't in that good distance here, as we did cut the rough on our drive, so we kind of need to play with that, and then we of course don't want to have any rough in play, so we slightly overpowered shot, and then it's going to bounce down to the right here, and it's going to fall back in. Sure, we are a little bit too much to the right, but still we secure an easy eagle, and that is really what counts here on this hole number 1. And of course, the thing that I think is the key is the drive. If the drive gets over to the fairway, then you will be able to reach for the green in 2, and at least give yourself the opportunity to make an albatross from distance, even though it's going to be tough and not something that you can count on. So our opponent here is doing what he needs to do, which is putting himself up there as close to the top as possible. So we're going to put it in for an eagle, and then we're going to go for hole number 2 in the Desert Open Tournament. And as you can see, we're playing from the second tee, which is Pro and Expert Division. So, and when it comes to hole number 2 is one of the new holes. We actually do have 5 new holes. Which way? We take 5 new holes in the tournament. So, and we are going to choose to play on the left side here. We're going to go with max side spin on our tight plan, combined with 1 bar of topspin. Do have in mind that if you go too much to the left here on this fairway, then you're going to be pushed down towards the rough, as that fairway slopes a little bit down towards the rough, and that is going to be something that you do not want. So we're going to go and over adjust this one a little bit, adjusting this one half a ring more than the guide says for us, to just counter for that, so we stay a little bit safer on the right side. And this shot is absolutely perfect, very happy with this shot, and 1 bar topspin is definitely going to be enough. John here is going to go with a dead ball, and John is going to go on the right side, and the right side here definitely comes in play if you're able to reach in a good position up there to the far right. If you're not able to do so, then you should all day and every day go in another on another way. So I would go in the left way if that wouldn't be possible. So my first decision would be like going on the left side, then second it would be going on the right side, and now by hitting this ball great, going up there to the right, it's going to actually lay up perfectly towards the pin. And then from this distance you do need a wood club with a lot of backspin. From this position, we do have a more open line towards the pin. We're going to go with 2 bars of backspin and max side spin here. I would be going with 1.5 bar backspin, or it's like 1.5 bar backspin if we would be having headwind, and then with tailwind I would be going with 3 bars of backspin to just counter for the different, or like the various bounds that we're going to get. We aim up straight to the hole, and we're going to adjust for 9 rings, so 1 mile per hour per ring, so 9 rings. And then we're just going to take a shot and hit the ball perfect. The only thing that I would love to add for this approach is that I would love to compensate for the bounce that we're going to get to the left. And compensate for that would be to take our ball guide line to just slightly go half a square or maybe a square towards the right side of the pin to give ourselves that room to counter for that bounce that we're going to get from that shot. So our opponent here, as I said, he is very well positioned there on the right side of that fairway. With that max out guardian that he does have, then it's going to be, I would say, it's going to be a very easy shot towards the pin. Then of course you need to adjust it properly, but as you can see, he's definitely able to go towards the pin. And that is the way, that is the reason I do consider the left side being a bit better, because if you're not having the distance with your drive and the topspin with your drive, you're not able to go as far up as you wanted to. Sure, if we do have tailwind, then I think the right side is easily the best way to play. But here in this tutorial, like for hole number 2, it's important to show as many sides as possible for it to be played depending on the wind. So we're going to putt it in, and we're going to take a birdie, be happy with that shot, and definitely consider this one to be a good opportunity to make an eagle in the tournament. So if you do want to get some more distance, like if we do have headwind in the tournament, do pack a wood club that do have some more distance instead, like for an example the Big Dog, the Cataclysm, or an upgraded Guardian, to get those like 5-10 extra yards that could be needed instead of having to have a very tough time. So hole number 3. And now we are going to play this one with the old layout, and the thing that with the new layout. So that was and the new layout is the following. So you will be able to see the tree there in the middle that kind of falls out to the right. You're going to see it a little bit better when I adjust, as I zoom in a little bit more. And that tree there in the middle kind of takes away the opportunity to go for the sand bump. And our opponent here is pulling and making a very good shot, making it stay there up there. Nicely well done from our opponent. So our turn here now, and as you will be able to see, the tree there is changed, so I'm not able to go for the rough bump. And then the green has been changed slightly as well, so you do not have that big hump there on the green, so the ball will easily stay. So we adjust there. As you see the yellow ring, we have that as a reference point towards the rough. I'm going to adjust this one for 4 rings, which is going to be approximately around 9.5 miles per hour due to the ball, due to the wind guide that we are using. Max curl on our Goliath combined with max side spin, going to pull us in here, going to come in here a little bit too hot, but still going to land up easily for us to make a birdie here. Definitely a possible hole-in-one with good wind, but in the end, be happy if you make a birdie. So we're going to go to hole number 4 in the tournament now. That is going to be one of the old ones to say, and one of the old holes, I mean that it's going to be a hole where we do play with the rough bump, but we're going to play with a different layout. So the first and foremost, the thing that I want to say is that we are going to play this one with a little bit bumpier when it comes to the fairway, and the green combined with the rough before the green is going to be slightly changed for you. So we're going to go with, as you can see, we're going to go with 5 bars of top spin combined with 3 bars of side spin to the left. And the reason we do not want to go with more topspin is that we do risk ourselves going into the rough on top. So therefore we're using max overpower and using just 5 bars of topspin instead. We get it just over, and we're still getting it kind of a little bit short here. We do want to go a little bit further ahead to give ourselves kind of an, I would say, an easier time to go for the rough bump. And the thing is, like, if we cannot reach for the rough bump for our second shot, then we do need to bounce it over towards the green. But this is definitely an eagle hole in my opinion if you do find yourself with a decent drive, because the drive is the key to be able to put yourself as close to the rough on top on the second fairway patch to be able to have the distance towards the pin. And if you want to secure that a little bit safer, then you can go with a wood club with a little bit more distance. A guardian would be good if you do have it upgraded in at least level 7 or level 8. And here, as you can see, we're going to have the guardian level 7, which is going to be possible for us to get this one to doing the rough bump on the green. So as you can see, we're still going to be slightly having to overpower our shot, but it's still going to be a possible one for us in this particular situation. So 2 bars of backspin, and I would say it's always 2 bars of backspin, my friends. Always. But adjustment here, you need to add half a ring to a ring on this adjustment. The reason for that is that the ball will be affected more by the wind, as we do have water in play. Get to overpower it, we get to hit the rough, and we get to roll the ball, and we get to drop it in for an eagle. So sure, we did have to overpower our shot due to headwind, and of course headwind, like headwind with our drive, headwind with our second shot, then it's going to be very tough to go for the rough bump. But in the end, that is definitely the best way to get the eagle. If you have to play yourself up short, as our opponent here did, because he picked the wrong driver, the quarterback will not be enough on tour number 9, and also like for pro and expert on this hole. Then the only thing you can do is to have the wood club that do have the most distance and most topspin, try to in some way curl it into to the green and give yourself a birdie putt from that distance. So hole number 5 now. We're going to come to the second par 3, and this par 3 is going to be not as tricky as I felt this hole were, I would say 8-9 months ago, because this was a killer 8-9 months ago. Now, while going to be able to play on the fairway on the right there, then it's going to be so much easier. We're going to go with 4.5 to 5 bars of backspin. I would also say that 6 bars of backspin with tailwind would be the magical amount of spin. So we are going to go with almost max curl, as you can see, not pulling max. The reason we're not pulling max is that then we will over curl it, and then we will not come in straight towards the pin. So we get it very close to drop there for the hole in one. Came in a little bit hot, but still we're going to secure an easy birdie. So add a little bit more backspin to make the ball stop a bit closer to the pin, especially if you play this one in the regular tour play. And sure, if you're having a left to right wind, then you need to go with max curl, as the ball will be pushed out more to the right. So you kind of need to counter for that depending on the wind that you're going to have. One other thing with this hole is that if you're going to have headwind, then you need to remove a bar of backspin. So you need to go with only 5 bars of backspin instead of 6 bars, while having that on playing head and tailwind. And the reason for that, again, I know I've been mentioning that a lot, but that is because the bounce on the fairway will be different depending on if you're having headwind or tailwind. Our opponent here is trying the same type of shot, doesn't have the curl that is needed for this particular shot, but still going to make a decent one and going to have no problem to pot this one in for a birdie as well. So hole number 6, it's time now for the second par 5, and 6, 7, and 8, and 9 is all new holes, and all of them are tricky in its own way. And hole number 6 is going to be tricky in the way that I do believe that going on the left side is going to definitely be the best way for you to at least have an open shot towards the pin for an albatross. Sure, you're going to be needed to have a lot of distance, but that is something that you're going to be needed to have even on the right side. We go max overpower with max topspin on our Apocalypse level 6, and you know, here you can see our ball is bouncing, but get a pretty bad bounce in the rough there. And you know, we need to have that in mind as well, that we actually can play it a little bit more conservative to do a double bounce. And our opponent here is going to get it over, but you will be able to see that he is reaching further than us because he get a different bounce. So if we would be aiming like that to get the second bounce to just bounce before the second rough, I know it's a lot of rough and not a lot of bunkers, then we should be able to have a double bounce and reach further on that fairway, because I think that is a big thing that needs to be done, because if you're not able to reach over to the third fairway, you will not be able to reach for the green in 2. Second shot here, and this tutorial we do pack the wrong wood club. We do not want to have the sniper. Now we kind of are lucky to have tailwind on this shot. Headwind, then we would basically not be dead, but it's going to be very tough for us to reach for the green in 2. But here is also the thing, like even though with a garden and with a cataclysm we do need to have topspin on our second shot, and for that to be able to reach for the green. Therefore this position with a ball on like straight open shot towards the pin is going to be the best way for us, as we can rely on the ball to roll down towards the pin. Getting it kind of close, but in the end I'm going to be very happy to make an eagle on this one, especially if we will be finding ourselves with some headwind. And again, headwind in the tournament, do use a wood club with a lot of distance. If you're having tailwind, then you can pack your sniper if you want to, but I would be taking it rather safe, to be honest, because this is a par 5 where we will not be seeing a regular albatross, but we will definitely seeing people making eagles. So, and if you do want to go on the right side here on this particular hole, then you can do so, but I would consider that one to be a little bit trickier, as you will not be having a straight open line towards the pin. Then you need to rely on the ball to bounce in the way that you want to, and that is always going to be something that is risk, is something that means to be taking a risk. So our opponent here, sorry, it's not our opponent, it's we that chip it in here for an eagle, and we're going to definitely be happy with that when it comes to that in the tournament. So now it's time for us to play hole number 7. That is the last par 3. So, and I do believe that the rough bump is going to be best on hole number 7. Unfortunately, we do not have a tutorial on it here in the playthrough, but I do suggest that for hole number 7 that you actually check out the latest episode of the Road to Glory, which is episode 25. There I do play the rough bump twice with good results on both. So our opponent putted in here on hole number 6, and we're just going to wait here so we can get to hole number 7. So there we go, hole number 7, also a new hole, and this is a hole where we're going to play with our driver most of the times. And in this particular situation, I do choose to play with a bounce over the rough. I would say that is wrong. I would say that you should go with the bounce in the rough there and going slightly to the left. But as you can see, this adjustment going with max backspin with our Apocalypse level 6. We're going to adjust our driver as we would be in maximum distance of our club, which we are not, but we're going to adjust it as we would. So we're going to go with 5.5 rings. And then we want it to bounce towards the pin. We're going to go short, and the reason we go short here is that the bounce here on that fairway is so unreliable. We could be hitting that fairway differently, and then we could get a much higher bounce and reach further on towards the pin. We're still going to get an easy birdie though, But in the end, the way to play this hole is, in my opinion, going for the rough bump, 2 bars of backspin if you do have headwind, 3 bars of backspin if you do have tailwind. You adjust your club as you would be in maximum distance, and then you're adding an extra half a ring. So that is going to get you, that is definitely going to get you to the green in an easy way, and most of all, it's going to be a good opportunity for you to make an hole-in-one, but also it's going to be a safe shot to make a birdie, as you do have a lot of rough to play with, especially if you go on the left side. As you can see here, our opponent is going for the rough bump, and that is a good try, just needs a little bit more backspin. So, hole number 8, my friends, and now we're going to play the hole that I think will be the most fun hole in the tournament. And hole number 8 is going to be the hole where we do hope that we will bag an extra shot. That we will bag an eagle to get one extra drop for our scorecard. So first and foremost, do not play with a basic ball, especially not in headwind. It's going to be too tough for you, because the thing that you do want to do is that you do want to go for the rough bump just by the green, and by doing so you need to at least put yourself over the rough here and not putting the trees in play. In this position, the trees is going to be in play. As you can see, they're straightforward to going for the rough bump. We are going to try to go as far as possible without risking going into the rough. Going to play this one in a way that I'm going to go with a little bit more curl and adjusting a little bit more outside on the outside to the right. But still, in the end, we're going to adjust there, and we're going to use the max amount of side spin on our club combined with 5 to 6 bars of topspin. Using more topspin, it's going to risk going into the rough straight, because the fairway kind of slopes a little bit to the right there. Now, as you can see, we're going to go with 3/4 of a ball with curl. And it's important, of course, to hit it perfect to get the line that we want to. And now with the side spin and the top spin is going to push us very close to the rough there. But in the end, as you can see, the ball is pushed down to the right. But now we're going to have an open shot towards the pin, which is going to be absolutely perfect. Our opponent here is going to, of course, go for the pin as well. But as you can see here, the ball is going to be playing with the tree there, and if you are a bit unlucky, then you're going to hit the tree, and then you're going to drop down into the rough and not being able to make an attempt for the eagle. So our opponent here do choose to play with the guardian directly on the green instead of trying to do something else. I would say, like, try to go for the rough bump, even though it's going to be tough, but definitely something that needs to be tried. We do have an absolute perfect position, and as you can see, we're going to go with our thorn in maximum distance here, and we're going to choose to go with 4 bars of topspin. Now we do choose 3 first, but we're going to choose 4 bars of topspin. Four bars of topspin, 8.6 in wind, and we're going to adjust as we would, as I said, in max distance. We go with 5 rings, or like not really 5 rings, like 4.9 rings, but like very close to 5 rings, and then we need to hit the ball perfect. We get the perfect roll up here, and we bag an eagle on this hole number 8. So this is going to be definitely a hole where you need to put yourself on the fairway to give yourself the room for the rough bump. But if you do have tailwind for your drive, then you can actually consider to go on the right side instead of the left side. So we're going to end up with a par 5 that I would say that this is to 99% a birdie hole. I would take this into like similar to with one of the Milano par 5s where we can't reach for the green in 2, and it's going to be very, very tough, especially with headwind, to reach for this green in 2. And you're going to be able to see that while we are when we are playing now. First and foremost, you do need to use a ball with distance, and that goes for Titan or a Kingmaker. I would consider a Kingmaker here to also reduce the wind, especially if we are going to have headwind. If we're going to have tailwind, then I do see a Titan to be the best, because then you don't reduce that much wind. So we pick a Kingmaker here, going with our extra mile level 8, max top spin and as much side spin that is allowed on our driver with the top spin combined. So we're going to set it up so we want it to bounce just after the rough there, going up towards the top of the fairway. So we're going to turn our screen around and we're going to adjust for the arrow to be north using the take shot button as our reference. So we're going to adjust for 5 rings and then add 1 more ring. So adjust for 6 rings and then we need to overpower. So we do overpower slight a bit actually to kind of counter for the bounce with a headwind, combined with that we have to overpower due to want to aim and to land where we did have our adjustment or like our landing position. So we get over there, but now it's still not, it's like the easy part is not done. It's like it's just getting harder, because this second shot is going to be a killer. And first and foremost, you do need to have a wood club with a lot of distance. I would consider a big dog, or I would consider a cataclysm, or a maxed upgrade guardian. But the problem with the guardian is that you do not have that much curl, so I would actually throw that away directly now when talking about it. So I would take a guardian, cataclysm, and a big dog, going for with the distance combined with the curl. Our opponent puts himself up there to the left, and if you're going to do so, you do need to have a long iron with a good amount of backspin. We're going to go with our cataclysm here and trying to get over to that very small fairway patch there by doing 1 bounce. And the reason we're going to try to do so is that will allow us to have more room for our wedge, so we do not have to have a wedge with a lot of backspin to be able to go for the pin directly. And also, even though we hit ourselves into the rough or into the bunker, we're still going to have an open shot and we're still going to have a decent opportunity to make an eagle. So we're going to go with slight amount of overpower. We do hit it great, so we do lose some distance, but we do forget to counter for the bounce while having some type of headwind. So we go short, we should be taking away 1 bar of backspin, or we should have went with even more overpower. As you can see here again, as I said, the Goliath will not have enough backspin. You need to go with a Saturn here, or with a Tsunami that gives you the maxed backspin on your club to be able to either go for the dunk on your club, or you need to just land it safely on the green and not risk anything, because now you need to go with a very close line towards the first piece of rough and also the bunker, and then you need to rely on that the backspin is going to get your ball to stop before the rough on the back. As you can see, it ends up kind of perfectly hitting that fairway in that uphill slope, and with going that directly on the green, I'm not going to be sure that that would have been staying on the green or on the fringe. So from this position, as you can see, we're going to have a good attempt actually with our Nirvana here. And we're going to go with 3 bars of backspin, and then it's actually just going to line it up. We are slightly uphill, so the ball is not going to be affected by the wind that much. And as you can see here, we're kind of over adjusting it just a little bit. We need to take away just a little bit with our adjustment. Otherwise, we hit it perfect. We are close to the pin. So my friends, this was the playthrough for Pro and Expert Division in the Desert Open Tournament. All the holes you can practice on tour number 9. And hope this playthrough will be to help for you. And if you do have any comments and questions, please make a comment in the comment section below and I will be happy to answer you there. In the end here, my friends, I want to wish you the best of luck in the Desert Open Tournament. And the video is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic.